Forget the how. As you do what you're meant to do, the pieces fall in place.
If you're a chef and you're thinking about how to venture into the private chef space, how to set yourself up for success from resume to first interactions with your clients, as well as succeeding at the job, our one-on-one coaching got you covered. Go to www.privatechef.cc and connect with me. Decades of experience can be your support to seize the next private chef opportunity. Welcome to the Private Chef Podcast, serving the 1%. I'm your host, Hennche, and on our show we speak to the best chefs, how they honed in on their skills to excel in the industry, and what it takes to work as a private chef for some of the most exclusive clients in the world. Welcome back to the Private Chef Podcast. I'm your host, Hennche, and today we welcome Chef Donna Goldman, a health-supportive private chef and the creator of Recipes for Survival. Join us as we explore Chef Donna's career journey and her talent for nourishing her clients' bodies, minds, and soul. Welcome to the show. So, tell me a little bit about your chef career. How did you get into the private service?
Oh, it's really a great story. I'm going to have to start in the middle. So, I worked in the music industry from my 20s for quite some time. I was assistant to a production manager for rock and roll tours that went around the world. And it unraveled at some point. I'm not going to use the math and go into years and dates, but it did. And I started cooking as a kid because my father was in the food industry, and I decided at 10 years old I didn't want to eat meat. I hated cleaning up the pan that the meat steak was cooked on. And so that led to that. And then my mother was like, well, took me to the pediatrician, and he was like, well, she'll be fine. She'll do food combining. And I started cooking for myself and everybody. And tuna noodle casserole. And then what happened was, when the whole thing was unraveling with the food and with the music industry, I was like, I'll go get a job at the Food Network. I'm a production person. I'll do that. I sent 60 resumes. I have it on file. Okay. Nothing. I got a tour one day. That's what I got with having sent my resumes. So I'm like, well, I'm going to make a cooking show. And I think I had already started doing it. And then I saw this thing my friend did on public access. And I went up there and I went to their office, which was on 23rd Street at the time. I filled out an application that was one page. Recipes for Survival. What's the show about? Utilitarian cooking and much more. People didn't even know utilitarian. I had a printout of Recipes for Survival taped onto my oven, and I still was lighting my oven with a match, and was no more than $4 for ingredients. And I had a camera because I always wanted to make documentaries. So I just started doing this, and within, I kid you not, like 3 weeks, all of a sudden the show, I was being recognized by my voice, and it just exploded. And then it was on. When they didn't have a show to air, they'd just throw in Recipes for Survival. And so it maintained like a primetime slot for over 2 years. I was on Channel 17 at 9:30 at night. And when it first aired, it was in between the half hour between like ER and Seinfeld or something, It was, and that's what I did. I cooked here. My friends would come. No more than $4 for ingredients and maintaining basic staples in your apartment. That was the main thing. Then I did that for a long time. Recipes for Survival has always been the foundation of everything that I do. It's the one thing I try to be consistent with. This is not really my nature. But then I was really out of work. And at one point, I swear it was even when I think it was the Village Voice was still around, I applied for a job as a celebrity chef. Or the company was called Celebrity Staffing. And I did that. And like every now and then I get a call from this agent and I say, sure, send my resume. Westchester, I'll go, I'll do. And then I was in Los Angeles for a wedding and she had recently called me. So I got an interview with her. 3 years later, I was doing everything in the yachting industry because I'm from Rhode Island. So I've been sailing, and one of my absolute best friends, Sue Guerin, who her company is called Global Yacht Concierge. She's incredible. She's a yacht broker for chart broker. And she would get me jobs and I would cook for 16 people from a yacht after racing, a big picnic. And after a weekend when I was there, another friend of ours who's a private captain was taking a leave. And she said, I'm going to you should send my relief captain your resume. And I had, through Sue and other friends of mine in the yachting industry, introduced me to a woman named Sarah Baines, who's like the grandmother of crew placement for chefs. And she really helped me put my resume, a marine industry resume, together. And I sent my 8-page marine industry resume to this relief captain and didn't get the job. Because I called him like, oh, am I going to bring the boat from Sag Harbor, or will I meet you once you're here in Liberty Island? And he told me he met somebody else. I kid you not. That same day, the woman from Celebrity Staffing called me and she said, one of our clients saw your resume. Would you be available for a Zoom call tomorrow at 11 a.m.? And I said, sure. And I now am private chef to a philanthropic couple. They are celebrities. They're in their 80s. And I have really found that my niche really, I am a health supportive private chef. That is what I am. It's always been about food and healing.
So what stood out to them? Why did they choose you? Why were they interested in working with you?
It's funny. It's hard for me to answer why I got picked. I do believe they interviewed other people. It took a while. I think I first had the first Zoom call was at the very beginning of August. Then I did again with the house manager. And they were like, we'll get back to you. We're interviewing other people. So like for 2 weeks, I wasn't eating, And then I got a call and they said, would you come up and do a tasting? Of course. And I said, well, anything you suggest? Nope, anything you wish. So I did a balsamic grilled chicken, balsamic thighs, one of my special coleslaw, and then I did Moroccan carrots.
How many trials did they take you through?
One. They're like, here, pick whatever dish you want. When I served out on the outdoor terrace. So then another 2 weeks go by and I had to do a background check. As though I were going to work in the White House. It took me an entire afternoon, 6 different forms to fill out. And then I started. So on August 24th, it will be 3 years this year. And it's been full out. I honestly believe that what I prepare for them makes them feel better. And that's all I care about.
So how do you think you changed their life? How do you think you impacted them?
Believe me, I'm not changing their lives, but it's extremely demanding. I don't think anybody right now, even if I try to get time off, and I work part-time, which is great because I do all my other artwork. And now the wolf isn't at the door. I finally have a job. I'm living like a normal person. It was so hard for so long. You can't believe. Like I said to a friend of mine, when I got the job, I was saying, I was telling people I was a private chef when I really wasn't. I was like, my friends were doing anything to help me out, but I was always cooking, and my friends really helped me out. And I have really strong knife skills, and I'm highly intuitive. I think that has a lot to do with how I ground myself. I try to keep a really quiet mind and very organized. A lot of it's intuition for me, what they need, what will make them feel better. And I cook very clean. And they also have very strict diets.
So how did having a regular paycheck change the trajectory of your finances? I mean, now you have an outlook. There's only so long we can actually cook. Like eventually we will have to live lives in a kind of like a retirement stage. How did that change your trajectory?
Well, I know that whole thing working for hours, and eventually you have to outgrow that and have other people be able to take your position and still somehow get some income. I'm extremely fortunate that my mom is able to help at times that were horrific. And even then, that was hard for her. But I've just, nothing has changed in my life. Like, no one knows anything about what I do except for the three closest friends in my life. I live very simply. I'm in an East Village crib. I couldn't live in Arkansas for less. I just sock everything away. I have other properties, please God, that I can do things with. But at work, no one knows that. I just show up and do my work, and I'm always available to them. And if I need time off, I have to give at least a month in advance. And I now have a woman who is up to snuff, and I work very well with, and she will cover for me, and she is able to cover for me at times. And they like her too.
Yeah, that's always an important component, that if you bring somebody in for cover, the chemistry needs to fit as well.
Because I had another lovely woman I found, because their Thanksgiving is 22 to 28 people, this long 3 days cooking. And then I did find this new young woman, Sandra, that has helped me out when I need to go away. Like at the end of July, I'm helping a friend of mine. Her husband is got some health issues, and she asked, and so I'm taking 4 days to help them in the Hamptons.
Nice. Lots of work going around in the Hamptons.
I am so lucky that my job is part-time and I have the flexibility, because I can visit my mom. I'm from Rhode Island, which I make a big deal about. So, and I still am able to do stuff there. My friends are like, come on, do a luncheon. We'll have a blast,
Sorry for the interruption. We will be right back. And if you're a chef thinking about venturing into the private chef space, this is for you. We coach you on how to set yourself up for success, from resume to first interactions with your clients, as well as succeeding at the job. Our one-on-one coaching got you covered. Go to www.privatechef.cc and connect with me. Decades of experience can be your support to seize the next private chef opportunity. So you also avid like meditator, right? You enjoy meditation. How does that kind of work into your kitchen?
I see cooking as a mindful meditation. It's a mindful meditation. Some people like to walk and meditate. I do silent. I do like a TM-esque meditation. I do a Tibetan meditation. But right now I do pretty religiously morning quiet meditation from 9 to 9:30.
Have you seen the chef table with Hong Kwan, the Buddhist monk?
No.
You have to watch it. So it's a woman that Eric Ripper, and so he brought her to New York to cook at his restaurant, and you have to watch the documentary on Chef's Table about her, because for her, it's a way of life to cook, but also to bring Buddhism into cooking. And she is also a cooking teacher in one of the local schools where she lives.
Where does she live?
I think it's in South Korea.
I see. Oh, wow. Oh, if it's on Chef's Table, I'll find it. And then you'll send me her name, then spelling at some point, right? Pleasance?
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
It's South Korea.
Yeah. All right. Well, I could, certainly write her name down, but you will share that with me at some point,
Yeah,
right?
I'll send it to you.
Yeah, and then
It's-
maybe I'll. A friend of mine was going to take me. I've still never been to La Bernardin. I've been there since they were on 32nd Street. I've worked on 4 teachings with His Holiness. I did the Kala Chakra, the first event in the Paramount Theater was that with Richard Gere. It was incredible. I think it was a week. They built the San Mandala, and then I did a Manjushri teaching. Yeah.
This is what makes New York so special, no? Because all of those things or become so accessible. Whether we're talking about Le Bernardin being one of the best restaurants in the world, or His Holiness the Dalai Lama coming to the city to share his teachings. Like there's so many amazing crossovers in New York City where anybody who has something to share eventually passes through town. And many of the people that want to create exceptional organizations pass through town or create them in town. It's such a melting pot where you're so close to all of those things.
Right, but it also has to do with the interconnectedness of your communication in your tribe to know about that. I just have to say that, because sometimes you're so nose to the grindstone, like you're like, wait, what? I missed that, I missed that amazing opening because I'm also around the art world too. I mean, there's so much, right?
Yeah, I remember one time, because just since it's about the Dalai Lama. So the Dalai Lama was at I think it was the Beacon Theater.
Yes, yeah.
And I walked down the street to go somewhere else. And I couldn't believe that I basically didn't know that the Dalai Lama was in town. But that's New York City. It's just like you are. I was in my own grind. I was just headed to work. And I'm like, wait, the Dalai Lama is in town? And I didn't even know. It was already on. Everybody, the crowds were out.
Yeah, I did the teaching in the Beacon. I didn't work on that one. I went to it. I've done one at Radio City. I went as a paying ticket holder. But this is so funny because, it was just his birthday. It was yesterday. And he was here because he had knee surgery. And I didn't know at all. And one of my friends on Facebook, Sonam, is one of their photographers forever. And they had crowds of people. He was actually staying in the hotel across from Metropolitan Tower on 57th Street. So Sonam had pictures. The street was completely. I'm like, what do you mean His Holiness is in town? I didn't even know. And then I found out it was because he was having knee surgery. And I was going to go to Tibet House had, for his birthday, they were going to have a celebration and a prayer ceremony on Friday, but I work on Friday the 5th, and I had just come back from being in Rhode Island. So anyway, he has been in my wishes for his birthday.
Yeah, I mean, it's as you said, New York, it can, it depends. Like what sphere of New York do you live in? It can be anything for you, and depending on which people you surround yourself, you might have bought Bitcoin in 2013 in Washington Park, or you might have seen the Dalai Lama, all of those things. But it really depends, like who's your circle and what part of New York do you expose yourself to. And that's also part of the scarcities that I see with private chefs. It's they only know their own circle, and they don't necessarily know how to expose themselves to the next circle, which could be their potential clients, for example. And And then there's some people who have a really nice Rolodex of clients, and those clients also are on the lookout. They really need chefs or good chefs, but they're both of these worlds don't quite know each other. It's like the people on Park Avenue, obviously their money can attract chefs, but they don't know quite, like there might be another 100 chefs that they think are awesome but they don't know about. And in the same way, all those chefs, there might be hundreds of families that think they would be awesome but they also don't know about.
You know what's interesting? I just listened to, but it was a guy who's trying to have people to be coaches, and that it all has to do with referral. A
Mm-hmm.
lot of, like you're saying, private chefs, like my friend who works on the boat and she's cooking for 27 people. You're absolutely right. They don't have the time to network and be out there, and it makes a difference. And I have a crazy Rolodex, but I'm also very quiet about what I do. And I also love doing historic recipes. I love heritage recipes. I love work.
Isn't it interesting how the quantities completely shifted in recipes? Like I looked at a couple older European cookbooks, and the amount of, like, even the basics, potato and meat would be significantly less for a serving or a portion, compared to uh, what we're cooking today.
That's very interesting because I've always said, like I'm talking 15 years. I was like, why are they cooking for 8 people? Because I was always doing me, myself, and I. I always keep everything very small, keep it simple.
This is actually also one of the things that I used to cook for families who wanted everything to be in abundance. So basically, if they host 8 people, you cook every dish for 16 people, so that if one person goes maybe back to the bowl or something, it still looks so flush and full that they don't feel hesitant in taking more. And then and that to me was very interesting, because even in Europe, even the wealthy families didn't want to waste food in that way.
My client, all she knows is abundance. So I understand. Even at a private dinner, seated with 8 people, say, she wants seconds. I'm like, who at a private dinner when you've just been fed 4 courses, you're going, I'd like some more? Doesn't matter. It's got to be there.
I remember there was this one Thanksgiving, and I was in New York, and I was out shopping, and I was like wondering, I'm like, wait, everybody on a normal day already has enough food in their home and on their plate. So how is it possible that we sell or buy so much food on Thanksgiving? Then I went into the food waste statistic just for Thanksgiving, and it was mind-boggling. Like Thanksgiving weekend, uh, I don't remember the exact percentage, but it was like mind-boggling high. How much of the entire food waste for the year is just from Thanksgiving?
It's such a funny thing because there is nothing I love more than going into a friend's house and cooking whatever's in the refrigerator. And when I was trying to do that, um, and at my job now, she's like, tell me what you're making on when you get here on Friday. I'm like, now because there's so much going on, she just trusts me. And I'm like, just let me see what's there. Just let me see what's there when I walk in. So now the woman who leaves on Thursday gives me an idea what's left that I can work with when I get in. So that came up. But I just love whatever's in your fridge. That's what you like. And that's what I'm happy to cook with. And I will make you something that you can make again. It's simple enough that you'll know how to make it again if that's what you have in your fridge. Otherwise, we'll make something very simple.
Yeah, I find it a really interesting industry, and given New York is New York. In New York, you really have that spectrum of clients that you can work with. where there's so much you can do. You can meal prep with some, you can teach them how to cook. They'll pick you up on the recipes. There's those that just want somebody full time who really takes care of them. There's those that want to celebrate parties. There's like an entire ecosystem that you can participate in.
You're basically living, and you become a part of that family.
Yeah.
It takes a lot to be like family, and I know with my clients, that's of utmost importance. Confidentiality, and I'm extremely quiet. She can just do her work. Because she said, "Oh my God, I had this one chef. She talked to me all the time. I couldn't stand it. That lasted 3 weeks." And I had that. I just naturally knew that. I mean, that's just my nature. But now we get along, so sometimes it helps. It's a lot to it. There's a lot to it.
Mm-hmm.
But what I
and
found
a lot that has nothing to do with cooking.
I've watched a number of your podcasts, and what I find interesting is you have to have it in your head that this could be what I can do. This is like my call. So, like I said, I was telling people I was a private chef when I wasn't, but eventually people just fell into it. Like, something fluky happened, that they got that interview or they got that call or their resume slipped through somehow. And it just, when you're on that path, then it eventually comes,
Yeah, that's also what I keep sharing with chefs, because there's like this chicken and the egg thing. It's like, okay, you don't get the job without having the experience. But at the same time, people want to get into the industry. So I'm like, hey, if you set your mind to it and you keep working into that direction and you expose yourself to other private chefs, to private families, to catering, it's like you said, eventually you will slip through. It's just not easy to say where it will happen.
Well,
Like,
yeah,
it might be that you
forget
meet somebody.
where. And the same thing that everybody's teaching now. Forget the how. As you do what you're meant to do, the pieces fall in place. All I ever wanted to do was be a voiceover artist. Nothing. I couldn't make it work. But then somebody would say, "Hey, can you make me lunch for the next week?" Or, and then you go there. So you're not doing the voiceover, and that's what you're doing. And that's where my path led.
But so we all find our path. Well, Donna, this has been super interesting. Where can people connect with you?
Anybody that finds this, go to recipes, 4 survival.com, and send me a note that you would like knife skills, and you will get a free knife skill lesson on Zoom.
Nice.
And if you go to recipes4survival.com, there's a contact there. That always works. It's a good website. I sell salt of the earth, and a special cookie that I made is there. And all the lessons that I offer is there. I have no opt-in, so have a good time. I couldn't figure that out.
Thank you for joining us at the Private Chef podcast. If you know any highly skilled chefs that want to take their life to the next level, make sure to share this podcast with them. And if you enjoyed this episode, click subscribe and check out our upcoming episodes. Thank you for listening.